Don't kill me, human. I can make you stronger than any man alive. The words echoed through the shattered corridor of the drifting alien cruiser. Commander Elias Vaughn froze, his rifle aimed straight at the wounded figure pinned beneath broken metal beams. Outside the cracked hull window, Jupiter's storm swirled like a watching god. The battlefield was silent now. Only the hum of damaged systems and the slow breathing of two enemies remained. Elias had fought Valerians for 3 years. He had seen cities burned from orbit. He had watched friends vanish in blue plasma fire. He did not expect one of them to beg. The alien female looked fragile, but he knew better. Her silver skin shimmered faintly under emergency lights. Strange symbols glowed along her arms like living tattoos. Blood, dark violet, stained the floor beneath her. Humans do not spare enemies, she said, her voice steady despite the pain. But you should spare me. Elias kept his weapon raised. Give me one reason. Her golden eyes locked onto his visor. Because my body holds power your species does not understand. He almost laughed. Almost. Yeah. And what kind of power is that? She inhaled sharply. Valerian genetics are adaptive. We survive anything. Radiation. Gravity collapse. Neural overload. If bonded correctly, I can transfer that strength. The corridor felt colder. Elias did not believe in fairy tales. But he believed in science. And war had taught him that impossible things were usually just classified. You're saying you can upgrade me? He asked. Yes. Her answer was simple. Honest. Terrifying. A warning beep sounded in Elias's helmet. Reinforcement drones were 2 minutes away. If command took her, she would disappear into a lab forever. He hesitated. That was his first mistake. Suddenly the alien coughed violently. Blood spread faster now. She was dying. Why offer this? He asked quietly. Her voice softened. Because your kind fights differently. He frowned. Differently how? You protect each other. Even when losing. Her eyes flickered. We studied you. Humans should have fallen in the first year. You were weaker. Slower. Less advanced. Elias smirked slightly. Yeah. We get that a lot. But you adapt, she whispered. You create. You improvise. You survive. Her breathing grew shallow. I do not want my legacy to end in fear. If I must die, let it mean something. Elias lowered his rifle slowly. This was not surrender. This was respect. He opened a private channel to his ship's AI. Nova, analysis. The Ari's calm voice responded inside his helmet. Valerian biosignature confirms adaptive cellular structure. Unknown bonding process detected. Probability of survival for subject, 12%. And probability she's lying. Minimal. The drones were 30 seconds away. Elias made a decision that would either save humanity, or doom it. He knelt beside her. If this is a trap, he said quietly, I swear I'll find a way to haunt you across the stars. For the first time, the alien almost smiled. You will not regret this, human. Her name, he learned moments later, was Lyra. The process began immediately. Lyra pressed her glowing palm against his chest armor. Symbols along her skin burned brighter. Energy pulsed between them, not fire, not electricity, something older. Elias felt pressure inside his veins. Pain exploded through his nervous system. He collapsed. His scream never left the helmet. The drones entered the corridor just as Lyra fell unconscious beside him. Hours later, inside a human medical frigate orbiting Jupiter, alarm screamed. Elias's body temperature had risen beyond human limits. His heart rate spiked, then slowed, then changed rhythm entirely. Doctors panicked. What did she do to him? Nova answered calmly. She saved him. Inside Elias's bloodstream, something extraordinary was happening. His cells were rewriting themselves. Strengthening. Repairing old scars. enhancing neural pathways. But it was not just physical. His mind expanded. He could feel patterns, ship vibrations, electrical pulses, even faint electromagnetic fields around him. He opened his eyes. The room felt different, sharper, clearer. He sat up slowly. Every muscle responded instantly. No stiffness. No fatigue. A doctor gasped. "Commander." He removed the breathing mask. "I'm fine," he said. But his voice sounded deeper, steadier, stronger. Across the room, Lyra lay restrained inside an energy field. Weak, pale, but alive. Their eyes met again. This time, there was no enemy between them. Only consequence. Alarms changed tone suddenly. Incoming transmission. A massive Valerian fleet had entered Jupiter space. Far larger than expected. "They're here for her," someone whispered. Elias stood. "No," he said calmly. "They're here for us." He walked toward the observation deck window. Outside, human ships formed defensive lines, dwarfed by alien cruisers. 3 years of war had led to this. Final escalation. Lyra's voice echoed faintly from behind him. "You are stronger now, but not invincible." He nodded. "Good." He flexed his hand slowly, feeling new power humming beneath his skin. Because humans don't win by being invincible. He turned toward the command bridge. We win by being impossible. And as Jupiter's storms roared below, humanity prepared to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The first Valerian strike did not hit the human ships. It hit the space between them. A wave of blue light rippled through the void like a silent scream. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then every screen on the human command bridge flashed white. Lights dimmed. Systems stuttered. The artificial gravity on 3 frigates failed at once, turning corridors into spinning nightmares. "EMP lattice," someone shouted. They just blanketed the entire grid. Commander Elias Vaughn grabbed the railing as the deck trembled. His new senses caught the pattern before the alarms finished screaming. The pulse was not random. It was shaped. Designed. It was a cage. "They're not trying to destroy us," Elias said, voice calm. "They're trying to freeze us." Admiral Sana Cade, an older woman with iron-grey hair and an expression forged from too many funerals, turned to him sharply. "Explain." Elias pointed at the hologram. "They hit our coordination layer. Comms, sensors, targeting. They want us blind and slow so they can pick us apart ship by ship." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "How do you know?" Elias hesitated. He was still not sure how to explain the feeling of seeing invisible currents like threads in the air. "I can read it," he said. "Like a rhythm." Nova's voice chimed from the console. "Commander Vaughn's neural activity has increased by 37%. He is detecting electromagnetic variations at an abnormal sensitivity." The bridge fell quiet. Then the Admiral gave a short nod. "Fine. Use it." Outside, the Valerian fleet moved like a wall. Their cruisers rotated into a tight arc, forming a crescent around the human line. It was beautiful in a cold, terrifying way, like watching a blade slowly descend. On a medical screen nearby, Lyra's biosignals flickered. She was awake now, restrained behind a containment field. Her eyes followed the movement on the holo. "They came faster than I expected," she murmured. Elias stepped toward her. "You didn't tell me they could do this." "I didn't know they would," she answered, voice strained. "They must have brought the null choir." Elias frowned. "The what?" Lyra swallowed. "A Valerian unit trained for silence warfare. They don't just attack ships. They attack systems. Minds. Hope." The word hope landed heavier than any weapon. A junior officer cut in, panic rising. "Admiral, we're losing ships on the far flank. Their rail lances are firing through our shield delay. They're predicting our dodges." Elias stared at the tactical display. The Valerians weren't aiming where the ships were, they were aiming where the ships would be. They're using probabilistic targeting, he said. They've mapped our patterns. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Then we break the pattern. How? A weapons officer snapped. We're running on degraded comms. Half our fleet can't even hear orders. Elias looked at the broken signal lines on the screen. Then he looked at the people around him, tired, angry, afraid. Humans, doing the impossible with duct tape and stubbornness. His mind snapped toward an idea. Not a plan. A dare. We stop fighting like a fleet, he said. We fight like a swarm. The Admiral stared. A swarm. Elias nodded, already moving to the comm console. They're expecting discipline. Formation. Predictable commands. But humans. He looked at the bridge crew. Humans are chaos with a heartbeat. Nova's voice softened, almost proud. Commander, comms are limited. Not all comms, Elias replied. He ripped open a panel below the console and pulled out an old emergency unit, a crude metal box with a spinning light. A ship-to-ship laser beacon. Primitive. Reliable. The weapons officer blinked. That's ancient. Exactly, Elias said. EMP lattice won't stop light. He jammed the beacon into the power port. Its beam snapped on, thin, bright, fast. Then Elias began typing. He didn't send words. He sent rhythm. Short pulses. Long pulses. A pattern so simple it felt stupid. The oldest language of machines. Sana Cade's eyes widened as she realized what he was doing. You're sending Morse. Elias didn't stop. Not just Morse. A code we used back in asteroid mining days. The Valerians won't recognize it. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They will adapt. Let them try, Elias muttered. We'll already be moving. Across the fleet, ships began to respond. At first, a few. Then more. Laser beacons lit up in the dark, flashing like stubborn fireflies refusing to die. Elias encoded one message. 3 words. Free hunt mode. It meant, you are now independent. Choose targets. Use creativity. Break rules. Survive. The human fleet shattered formation instantly, on purpose. Ships dipped, rolled, scattered in unpredictable vectors. Some cut engines and drifted. Others fired thrusters in bursts, pretending to lose control. One corvette released a cloud of scrap metal like glittering bait. Valerian targeting systems hesitated. Their perfect predictions failed. And in that hesitation, humans struck. A small human cutter named Nailbiter slid under the arc of a Valerian cruiser, jammed itself against the alien ship's blind spot, and released magnetic mines that clung like parasites. The cruiser tried to rotate. Too late. The mines detonated. Not enough to destroy it. Enough to cripple its maneuvering. Another human ship ran silent, powered down entirely, becoming invisible to the lattice. It drifted into range like a dead corpse floating through a battlefield, then fired a single kinetic slug straight into the Valerian command relay. The relay shattered. Valerian formations wobbled for the first time. On the human bridge, officers stared in disbelief. It's working, the junior officer whispered. Elias didn't smile. He watched the alien fleet adjust, and his upgraded senses caught something new. A second wave building. Not an EMP. Something sharper. Something aimed at brains, not circuits. Admiral, he said, voice low. They're about to sing. Lyra's expression turned grim. The Null Choir. The first note hit like pressure inside the skull. It wasn't sound. It was math. A harmonic frequency delivered through space by quantum resonance. It bypassed hulls. It bypassed shields. It went straight into nervous systems and made order feel like pain. Human pilots began to scream. Some dropped unconscious mid-flight. On the bridge, a technician slammed his forehead against the console, eyes wide and empty. Elias felt it too. A crushing force, trying to fold his thoughts into neat lines. Trying to turn him into a predictable machine. He gritted his teeth, hands shaking. Lyra grabbed the containment field edge, her face strained. This is why they win. They erase the will to improvise. Elias breathed hard, fighting the pressure. His new nervous system resisted better than the others, but resistance was not victory. He looked around. Humans were collapsing. The swarm was dying. If the choir kept singing, the fleet would fall apart in minutes. Elias turned toward Lyra. "You gave me strength," he said through clenched teeth. "Now give me another advantage." Lyra's eyes flickered. "What?" "A weakness," Elias said. "Every weapon has one." Lyra shook her head. "The choir has never been stopped." Elias leaned closer, voice fierce. "Then today we stop it. Tell me how." Lyra's breathing sped up. She looked at him like he was insane. Then she whispered, "They resonate through a quantum anchor, a core device, hidden inside their flagship." Elias's mind raced. "If we destroy the anchor." "The choir collapses," Lyra finished. "But the flagship is surrounded. It has layered shields. You will not reach it." Elias's eyes moved to the tactical display. The Valerian flagship sat at the center of the crescent, massive and calm, like a predator watching its prey bleed. Reaching it would be suicide. Unless humans did what humans always did. Turn suicide into strategy. He opened a channel to the swarm code line. His fingers trembled, but he flashed a new message in hard, quick pulses. Target. Flagship. Objective. Anchor core. Plan. WE improvise. The Admiral stared at him. "Elias, that's impossible," he finished. "Yeah. That's the point." Then he did something that shocked even Nova. He keyed the medical bay override. Lyra's containment field dropped. She staggered, nearly falling, but Elias caught her arm. "You're coming with me," he said. Lyra's eyes widened. "You will die." Elias tightened his grip. "Maybe." He glanced at the bridge crew, humans sweating, shaking, still trying. "But we'll die loud." The Admiral stepped forward, voice tight. "Commander Fawn, if you take my fastest strike craft and you fail." Elias met her gaze. "If I fail, we die anyway." A long moment passed. Then Sana Cade nodded once. "Take the Razor Wing." Elias and Lyra sprinted through the shaking corridors toward the hangar bay. Around them, the ship groaned as the null choir pressed harder, trying to crush human will into silence. As the hangar doors opened, Elias saw the Razor Wing, a sleek black craft built for one thing, getting too close and surviving by being smarter than the enemy. Lyra stared at it. "This is small." Elias grinned through pain. "Yeah. Humans call that efficient." They climbed into the cockpit. Outside, the war raged, chaotic and desperate. Elias strapped in, hands on the controls, mind fighting the choir's pressure. Lyra sat beside him, still weak, eyes burning with purpose. The launch catapult armed. The null choir's song rose like a storm. Elias whispered, not to Lyra, not to Nova, but to the whole uncaring universe. "Let's see if your perfect civilization can handle one stubborn human idea." The Razor Wing fired out into Jupiter space like a bullet. Straight toward the flagship. Straight toward the heart of the enemy's impossible weapon. And behind them, the human swarm followed, flashing beacons, broken patterns, and raw courage, because that was the one thing aliens never truly understood. Humans didn't need certainty. They only needed a chance. The Razor Wing tore through the battlefield like a shard of night. Behind it, Jupiter's storms churned in silent fury. Ahead, the Valerian flagship loomed, vast, silver, flawless. Around it, smaller ships rotated in perfect harmony, their movements precise and elegant. Too precise. The null choir pressed harder. Inside the cockpit, Elias felt it clawing at his mind, trying to smooth his thoughts into neat, obedient lines. His vision flickered at the edges. His heartbeat tried to match the alien rhythm. Lyra gripped the side console, her golden eyes unfocused. They are increasing amplitude, she whispered. They feel your approach. Good, Elias muttered. Let them. He swerved suddenly, cutting thrusters in the middle of a clean vector. The razor wings spun wildly, then reignited engines at an impossible angle. A Valerian interceptor overshot them, its predictive targeting thrown off by the sudden irrational maneuver. Lyra blinked. Why did you do that? Elias grinned through clenched teeth. Because it made no sense. Another alien ship fired a lance beam. Elias didn't dodge the way a trained pilot would. Instead, he vented half his fuel in a glittering cloud of plasma and hid inside the explosion's glare. The beam passed through empty space. Predictable pilots die. Creative pilots confuse gods. Distance to flagship, he asked. 40,000 kilometers, Nova replied. Shield density increasing. The null choir's pressure intensified. It felt like invisible hands squeezing Elias's brain. His thoughts began to blur. For a moment, fear crept in. What if the Valerians were right? What if humans were only surviving because they hadn't been erased properly yet? Lyra looked at him, sensing the flicker. They are trying to make you doubt, she said softly. The choir feeds on surrender. Elias exhaled slowly. He thought of Earth. Of crowded cities. Of arguments over coffee. Of children building impossible machines out of junk. Of engineers who solved problems at 3 in the morning because why not? Humans were messy, emotional, unstable, but they were never silent. His eyes sharpened. Lyra, he said, your anchor core. Where exactly? She pointed to the holographic projection forming between them. Central spine. Protected by layered harmonic shields. They will resonate with the choir. So it's broadcasting and defending at the same time. Yes. Elias nodded slowly. Then we don't break the shield. Lyra stared at him. That is impossible. He smiled. We don't break it, he repeated. We interrupt it. He switched channels to the human swarm. Laser beacons flickered in scattered response. Attention all units, he said, voice strained but steady. We're not overpowering the choir. We're overloading it. Confused silence. Then Admiral Cade's voice. Explain fast, Commander. Elias watched the flagship grow larger in the viewport. The choir relies on harmonic perfection. Predictable resonance. We're going to give it noise. Lyra's eyes widened slowly. You cannot match their frequency, she warned. I don't need to match it, Elias replied. I just need to ruin it. He transmitted a new code pattern. Random pulses. Irregular timing. Chaotic bursts. To human ships, it looked like nonsense. But inside that nonsense was instruction. Every ship with functioning comm lasers began transmitting erratic, unsynchronized bursts directly at the flagship. Thousands of tiny beams. Not coordinated. Not ordered. Pure, beautiful chaos. The Valerian flagship's shield flared as it absorbed the first wave. The null choir's frequency wavered slightly. Inside the cockpit, the pressure shifted. Lyra gasped. You are interfering. Good. More human ships joined in. Some transmitted old music files. Some blasted mathematical sequences. One mining vessel simply fired raw binary noise at maximum output. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't controlled. It was human. Inside the flagship, the quantum anchor struggled to maintain perfect resonance. It had been built to counter fleets, strategies, weapons. Not madness. The choir's song cracked. Pilots across the battlefield gasped as the crushing mental weight loosened. On the human bridge, technicians lifted their heads in disbelief. It's weakening, someone shouted. But the flagship reacted fast. Its outer cannons rotated toward the razor wing. Lyra's voice trembled. They know you are the center of disruption. Yeah, Elias said. That tracks. 3 massive energy lances charged at once. There was no dodging this. Elias locked eyes with Lyra. You trust me? She hesitated only a second. Yes. He cut all forward thrust. Instead of fleeing, he aimed directly at the flagship's main shield node. Lyra's breath caught. That is suicide. Elias grinned. Only if we stop. The razor wing accelerated. The lances fired. At the last second, Elias rolled the craft sideways and triggered a full-spectrum broadcast from the ship's experimental comm array, a device humans had built for deep space research. It was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to send complex emotional data across light years. Elias overloaded it. The ship screamed as power surged. Instead of a clean signal, it blasted raw human neural patterns, messy brainwave data, chaotic emotional spikes, laughter recordings, heartbeats, overlapping voices. Hope, fear, joy, rage. Everything at once. The energy lances struck the Razorwing's hull, but the broadcast hit first. The quantum anchor absorbed the flood of incoherent humanity. Perfection shattered. The null choir collapsed mid-note. Across the battlefield, Valerian ships faltered as their synchronized targeting dissolved into confusion. The flagship's shield flickered violently. Lyra stared in awe. You weaponized your own minds. Elias coughed as sparks flew around them. Not weaponized. He pulled the final trigger. Shared. The chaotic broadcast resonated inside the anchor core, forcing it to process something it had never been designed to handle: emotional unpredictability. The core overloaded. A pulse of distorted light burst outward from the flagship's spine. The choir went silent. Completely. Human pilots blinked as the mental pressure vanished. For the first time in years, Valerian ships hesitated without harmony guiding them. And humans, messy, loud humans, did what they did best. They adapted faster. Admiral Cade's voice rang across the restored comms. All units, full assault. Target disabled vessels. Drive them back. The swarm reformed, not into rigid formation, but into coordinated improvisation. Within minutes, Valerian ships began retreating, their perfect crescent shattered. The flagship, wounded and unstable, jumped to warp in a flash of desperate light. Silence returned to Jupiter space. Inside the smoking cockpit of the Razorwing, Elias slumped back in his seat. Lyra stared at him like she was seeing humanity for the first time. You turned weakness into strength, she whispered. Elias laughed weakly. Story of our species. Rescue ships approached. Human crews cheered across open channels. But Elias looked out at the drifting battlefield and felt something deeper than victory. The war wasn't over. The Valerians would return. They would study this. Adapt. Evolve. And humans would have to do the same. Lyra placed a hand over his. You changed everything today, she said. He shook his head. No. He looked at the scattered fleet, miners, scientists, soldiers, civilians who had all contributed noise to defeat perfection. We all did. Far beyond Jupiter, in the shadows of interstellar space, Valerian commanders analyzed what had happened. They had prepared for human strength. For human weapons. For human rage. They had not prepared for human imagination. And that was the most dangerous force in the universe. Because humans did not need to be the strongest. They only needed to think differently. And as long as one human somewhere had a strange idea at the right moment, the story would never end.